for August the 20th. I have a few changes to the agenda. If you will add at consent agenda 6C11, permission to hire a full-time animal tech at the Animal Resource Center, and you have a memo in front of you regarding that. You'll also add on the consent agenda 6D4, a resolution approving the financial commitment of matching funds for the Mississippi Main Street Revitalization Grant Program. We actually passed that at our last meeting and found out today that we need a resolution that states the same thing that we voted on it, and Mark Levy has that. So if you'll add that at 6D4, and if you will remove numbers 12 and 13.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Just a quick mayor's report. This past week, you may have seen all of the Apache helicopters that were landing at our Oxford University Airport. The 101st Airborne Division had about 300 soldiers here and about 85 Apache helicopters that came in, and they were doing some training here. It was really cool to watch. I was on Super Talk Radio yesterday and had the opportunity to talk about tourism in Oxford and all that's booming and our growth challenges, and we just continue to tell that story so that when we go to Jackson and DC and ask for money, people understand the growth challenges that we're experiencing. Attorney General Lynn Fitch hosted her inaugural Women's Summit in Oxford yesterday at our conference center. And I was there and so proud to see how our conference center staff just rocks. I mean, it was so good. They had over 400 people at the conference yesterday, and 3 meals and a room for booths set up, and it was really, really something. And our staff did a great job. Authorize the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on August 6th and the special meeting on August 14th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Authorize the approval of accounts for all city departments.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consider the consent agenda with the 2 additions. Oh, I'm sorry.
We adopted the agenda so quick. John had an item about the roll-off dumpster on North 10th Street,
Beside the cellar.
beside the cellar.
Okay, I didn't get it. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, well, then I guess, how do we go back to add that to the agenda? Amend the agenda?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to add the new item, which would be
And
number
you would
what?
read- We will do that. What is John's first item on?
29.
Okay, 29A.
Second.
All right. Can I have a vote then to amend the agenda with that addition? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. All right, so now I would ask you, thank you ma'am, to consider the consent agenda with the 2 additions.
Motion to consider the consent agenda with the additions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm gonna ask you to consider a reappointment to the Oxford Park Commission Board for a 1-year term ending August 31st, 2025. And I recommend for reappointment Don Frugier.
So
Motion
moved.
made. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I would ask you to consider these reappointments to the Courthouse Historic Preservation Commission. Andy Phillips, Laurie Beth Ellis, and Taylor Webb.
Motion made. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ask you to consider these reappointments to the Historic Preservation Commission. Luke Heisel, Joel Little, and Rachel Malone West.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ask you to consider these reappointments to the Affordable Housing Commission. Janice Antonell, Lance Hickman, and Josh Sissel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ask you to consider these reappointments to the Pathways Commission. John Kofer, Sumner Abraham, and Jonathan Klingler.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Moving to 14, request permission to advertise for RFPs for a new municipal court prosecution management software system. Nikki?
Hello.
Hello.
We are not currently in contract.
The one that was signed previously has just lapsed over, and we're just month to month right now, and that company is slowly disintegrating. So we've been looking at some new options and something that can take us into the future, get us web-based, all the things that we discussed about a year and a half ago, with hoping we could upgrade with that current program. Unfortunately, we were not able to, so I've been consulting with Mark on how to do this RFP. This is new for me. So this is step one, just requesting permission to advertise.
All right,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for Visit Oxford to host a Square Jam music event on October 25th from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Yes, so we would want to block off just this area right in front of City Hall from the sidewalk or the crosswalk from Square Books Junior in front of the Park over to the other end here. The same footprint that we have used for Square Jams, the basketball event with Ole Miss over the past few years. We want to do instead Square Jam Session, a music event. So we would need to block that off at 4 a.m. just to make sure that it was clean, get the cars out of the way. The event would occur though from 5 p.m. until about 8:45. That's when the music would be played, and it would be free, and we would invite people to come and just kind of enjoy a Friday night before a football game. Oklahoma's the next day, and we would like to put food trucks behind City Hall, and we will have porta potties, and we have talked to OPD, and they are ready to kind of set it up the same way that they do for Square Jam with street closures and all.
What date is that?
The 25th.
That is Friday, October 25th.
The Friday night before.
It says,
Yeah, it's a
well, I know
Friday
that,
night.
but right now it says August 15th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a date
Yeah,
change.
sorry.
Okay.
October 25th.
So,
Sorry, I actually wrote that up.
I'm gonna make a motion, then Chief, I gotta tell him. Motion to approve.
All right,
Second.
all in favor?
Is what's happening on that date, it's the autofill on the PDF. You put in the correct date, and I know it's on a couple others, you put in the correct date, and then when you put in your date of the application,
messes up.
it autofills the date, the application date into the event date.
I noticed that.
So that's happened to me. So
Well, I
that's what's
actually
happening.
wrote it right here on my page to say date change, and I still didn't do it, so there you go. That would be on me.
That was my bad.
October 25th.
Doesn't matter, I don't think.
All right, request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for the YAC to host a second line parade on Friday, August 30th from 6 until 6:30.
Yes, ma'am, we've done this a couple years, so no issues with us.
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for the Communication Workers of America to host a strike on August the 21st from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Chief?
Yes, ma'am, so they've done this several years in the past. What they have placed on their permit is on South Lamar. However, I think their union asked them to start those demonstrations this week. We've helped educate them on locations that they could go to. I think they've worked out a third location that may not impede us as far as right there on South Lamar, so we're kind of letting them handle that.
This is
But
AT&T.
this is AT&T, but we felt like because it's kind of what they're going with, we need to at least get something on the books to give them the ability to do a permit. So no issue on our end. It's a very small group, and they'll either be moving or they'll pick a third location that won't impact vehicular or pedestrian traffic.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for the Student Activities Association to host a homecoming parade on Friday, September 27th from 5:15 to 7 p.m.
Yes, ma'am. So it's our standard homecoming parade. No issues. We'll be able to handle that.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for Ashley Callery to host a Witches Ride of Oxford on Monday, October 21st from 6:30 to 7:15.
Yes, ma'am. So from Midtown, they'll make the loop around the square and then return back down Midtown. So it's not an issue that we can't handle.
Motion
moved.
made. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Now we'll have a first reading of a proposed ordinance prescribing the prohibitions of criminal loitering and aggressive solicitation and assessing the penalties for violation of each. Chief?
Yes, ma'am. We've dealt with this for a number of years of not having a way to move people that are either engaging in aggressive panhandling at our intersections or on the edge of private property that goes into our right of way, and then individuals that are loitering within the city. And so we put together an ordinance for you guys to look at, and we put it in the peddlers because we felt like that language kind of flowed with people that do have a permit versus people that don't have a permit. So when we're looking for this, we felt like that would be a kind of flow in order. And what we did was is we defined in 82-30, we defined what criminal loitering would be, which is simply stands, lurks, loiters, or positions himself or causes a minor under their supervision to stand, lurk, loiter, or position themselves within or upon the following places in a manner to restrict the free flow of pedestrian vehicular traffic, endangering themselves, the public, or any public personnel, or creating reasonable fear of danger to those individuals. And then we listed 16 criteria of where that would be a violation within the city. And then we followed 82-30 with 82-31, which would go into aggressive panhandling. And there we list what that looks like, the 8 provisions, and then we list the locations in which someone could not aggressively panhandle. In front of an ATM, a bank, a check cashing business, a parking meter, a private building, public area, public place, and then solicit, ask, and beg, panhandling, what those definitions would be. And then the general punishment would be not more than 90 days in jail and less than $1,000 fine.
Anybody have any questions for Chief? This is just a first reading, and we will at our next meeting have a second reading and public hearing regarding this ordinance. But if anybody on the board has any questions now, I know Chief would be ready to answer them for you. All right, well, we'll consider that our first reading. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Request permission to accept bids received and award a contract for the Old Timber Road Substation Civil Project.
Thank you. This item is pretty self-explanatory. We took bids on the civil package for the Old Taylor Road voltage regulator project a few weeks ago. You'll see in your packet there a bid tab. We only received one bid, and it's also is a letter of recommendation in your package. The bidder was Bluff City Construction Company. The bid was $399,853.35. It's well within our budget for the project. So we recommend that you accept the bid and award the project to Bluff City.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve and authorize the mayor to sign an amended software service agreement with Landis and Gear for Oxford Utilities.
You said it just right. Landis and Gear. That's
okay,
right. Good job.
It's a guess.
So that's our solution as a service for our AMI meter reading system for electric meters and for water meters. It does leak detection. It does our outage notification system. And so essentially they've hit us just with an amendment that helps redefine terms that 8 years ago they didn't include in the original agreement, which included breach of confidentiality, downtime, data privacy, harmful code, and other terms that weren't in there. We value our relationship with Landis and Gear, and we feel like this is a fair addition to our contract and doesn't really impede on us in any way. So I'd recommend that you allow the mayor to sign it, and we can keep on doing business.
Pope, are you good with this? Did you read through?
Rob, is this one that I already sent? I
can't remember if you sent this one out. I know that
If he sent it, I read it through, approved it. If he hasn't, then make it subject to mine, and I'll read it through. We'll look at our emails. He sent me one in the last 2 weeks.
Right, is there a motion
So moved.
that it be with Pope's?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request approval of request for city utilities for case 3118, Brian Hill for Fieldstone Farms Phase 8, which includes a site plan for property located at Fieldstone Loop East, being further identified as PPIN 3392. Kate.
Okay, so this is a request for the approval of city utilities for Fieldstone Farms Phase 8, located on Fieldstone Lane inside of the Fieldstone Farms development. The property is located in Lafayette County, slightly outside of the city of Oxford limits. This request was heard at the August 12th meeting of the Planning Commission and was unanimously recommended for approval. In 2016, Fieldstone Farms was granted city utilities for all of the existing development, which has now been constructed. The current proposal includes 12 units with 36 bedrooms. A request for use of city utilities are reviewed to ensure they meet all of the standards for subdivision in the city. This proposal meets those standards as well as the standards for site plan review, which is a part of the Planning Commission approval. Staff is recommending approval of the request for extension of city utilities with 5 conditions, which were listed in your memo.
Motion made to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Request approval of the final plat for case 3120 JWM Development LLC for Colonnade Crossing Phase 4 for property located at 800 Concordia Avenue, being further identified as PPIN 4563.
So the subject property is located in Colonnade Crossing, and the applicant is proposing one 3.22 acre lot, which meets the dimensional requirements of the underlying zoning. The engineering department provided comment on the proposed infrastructure and stormwater management. This request was heard at the August 12th meeting of the Planning Commission and was unanimously recommended for approval, and staff is recommending approval with 3 stated conditions.
Motion made with conditions.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a computer software support agreement addendum with Delta Computer Systems, Inc. for the continued maintenance of the tax collection software. Ashley?
Yes, this is our annual update. I believe they went up like $50 a month on their fees, but this is our software for our tax collections.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Any
Thank you.
opposed? Request permission to advertise for an RFP for property insurance. Mark?
We got a letter last week from EMC, which is our property insurance provider, saying that our policy will not be renewed when it expires this November. And you may remember that prior to 2016, we had 3 different insurance providers. In the late summer of 2016, we interviewed a bunch of agencies, several agencies and insurance providers, and then we ended up going with Brown Insurance, and EMC was the provider. And at that time, we saved about 50% of our total premium when we made that switch from those 3 companies to the one. It's been about 8 years, given the cancellation notice, and we feel like it's time to test the market. And I've talked to Tatum. It doesn't have anything to do with our past coverage. It's procedural. We think it's best practice. I have prepared the RFP and would like to advertise as early as next week so that we can have time to review those before our policy expires in November.
Motion made to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Consider change order number 1 from Acoustics and Specialties to finish out a vacant room at the new Oxford Police Department building.
All right, so I'm going to cue the drawing. We have a little over 11,000 square feet, as you see in this image, of the new police station building, which is being left unfinished and vacant. As we move closer towards substantial completion, we are on track to finish on time. I wanted to present an option to finish out this large room. There's some photos in the packet that I sent you that show the current condition. That's how that room will stay under the current contract. The contractor has given us a price to paint the ceiling and the overhead ductwork, which is metallic. You saw it in the picture. And to do sheetrock 14 feet down, finish those walls, paint, to paint the exposed cable trays. The entire area that you see there would be completely finished, except for the floor. And so keep in mind, this area is heated and cooled separately than the other space, so we can control that. We do have money in contingency to be able to finish out this area if you choose to. So I'm really just asking for a recommendation from y'all, whether we finish out or leave it as is. The net change order is $50,000, which is about $4.44 per square foot. And just to be clear, we don't have to do this in order to move in, but we do feel like it won't ever be easier to do or cheaper to do or more efficient to do than right now. So
while the people are already there, it makes sense. And, you know, just like we have in other city facilities, Hayakawa and others, we find a reason to use all the space. And so just to have the walls finished and the ceiling sprayed, I think would make this a much more useful.
I think it's at $4.50 a square foot, it's a great use of space. I'll make a motion to move forward.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider a proposal from Haworth and Associates for professional services related to a grant submission. Mark?
we have a proposal from Jonathan Maddox, the architect at Haworth, for to come up with a conceptual plan for some areas in the basement of this building. This Main Street grant, which we've been putting different documents together for, is due actually at the end of next week. So we have to hurry up, but part of that grant is to engage a professional to help us think through how we're going to use that space. We think if we do that, we'll have a very good chance to be awarded the grant, and any kind of fees that would come later on would be credited back to, reimbursed back to us for that project, part of the project.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Marshall.
Thank you.
Consider request for a revocable license for a sign at 2500 University Avenue. John?
Yes, this property is between Highway 334 and the roundabout to Highway 6 down just past B&B Concrete on the right. It's a building that this person has just bought. They want to convert it into a garden center. The building sits below street grade if you drive past. Yeah, it used to be. So the right-of-way there is wide enough such that if they were to put a sign on their property, you wouldn't see it. So what they're asking is permission to put it just inside our right-of-way on top of the hill so you can actually see it from the road.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, at 29A, we have a request to place a roll-off dumpster on North 10th Street by the cellar for up to 3 days.
Yes, ma'am. They are asking for, right now what they're doing is they're bringing in a small demo trailer, loading it up, hauling it off, bringing it back. They're having to gut that entire building from some sewer flooding damage that happened just recently. So what they want to do is actually drop a roll-off right there, not blocking the loading zones for the 18-wheelers, but maybe right there by the cellar door. They'd have to block that sidewalk probably for 2 or 3 days. And that's what they want to do.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding for the downtown regional detention project.
So if you'll recall, this is an MCWI project. We did one of these MOUs similar to this for the North Lamar Sewer Project. The bid for the project came in well below what we were awarded for the grant program. And so what that means is that when we're done with this project, we'll be leaving money on the table. In order to allow us to allocate that money to another project, MDEQ wants us to enter into this MOU, which again is purely procedural. We would never come and ask the mayor to do something without your permission, but this is a piece of paperwork that DEQ wants to have in place before August 30th. So when that project is complete and closed out, if there's money left over, and there will be, we can work through DEQ to add that to another project of your choosing.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding for the county roads 322, 324, 326, and 412 water improvement project.
It's the exact same thing, just a different project.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider a request from Odin Hardy Construction for extended work hours for a concrete slab pour at 14th Ackerley.
Yes, ma'am. This is right next to the Bryan Development building. They're asking permission to start a concrete pour, let's see here, in the afternoon and work through the night, basically, 8:30 p.m. until they get finished, so they can be done before the following morning and stay out of all the school traffic.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider a request from AT&T for special work hours on Sunday, August 25th to close Monroe Avenue between North Lamar and North 13th to work in relation to fiber optic service.
Yes, this is right over here next to the county building.
They're gonna have workers available?
Oh, yeah. I guess if the strike is resolved by then, they'll want to do that. Assuming the strike is off, they want to work here on Sunday so they don't disturb any weekend, weekday traffic, et cetera, et cetera.
Do they need an alternate date, like the following Sunday? Following Sunday is a holiday weekend.
It may be two different people. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to reject the bids received for the College Hill Lift Station project.
Yes, these bids came in, well, about 50% over the engineer's estimate and the budget for this project. So we are going to ask to reject the bids and go back to the engineer and have them reassess the project and hopefully bring that cost down.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Ask the board to consider an executive session.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? The board will now consider an executive